You're welcome back to a new day here on TV3. Reminder that we're live also on all our social media platforms at TV3 Ghana. It's now time for the big issues, the newspaper review here on New Day, Wednesday, the 10th of May, 2023. My name is Noble Crosby, and I've been joined in the studio by Kofi Tonto, who is a government spokesperson. Kofi, good morning. Good to see you.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
Very well. First time meeting.
Yes, it's the first time we're having a conversation here.
Look forward to it.
Yes. I also have in the studio with me this morning Osman Ayaruga, who is the Deputy National Youth Organizer of the NDC. Osman, good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you too.
Good to see
How
you
are you
too.
doing?
We're doing well.
You had lights at your area yesterday night?
No.
You did not? Where's your area?
West Lebanon.
Okay, there was no lights there.
At all.
I see. Kofi, you had lights?
Yes, I did. There was an intermittent light out for a bit, but then it came back. I'm still trying to figure out what the issue was. It seems several parts of the country experienced lights off last night.
And there was it looks like there was no prior announcement.
Yeah, there was.
So
I didn't hear
caught
anything.
a lot of people off guard. My area, for instance, we were without lights the whole of the night yesterday.
Which area is that?
That's that part of Kwabenya.
Okay.
Yes.
It's completely unacceptable. And I think ECG needs to come out and explain these things. We shouldn't be in a society where things happen without any explanation. Look, we are in government, but if something is wrong, it is wrong. The ECG must come out and explain what is going on. If there is an error or an issue, just come out and tell Ghanaians that we are having an issue and we are fixing it. Ghanaians are amenable. They will hear you out once you have a plan and you roll it out. But to just take people's light out sometimes for a whole day without any explanation, and then they give you a number to call, you call and call, it doesn't go through. Look, I've had this conversation. It's time that we hold
the
civil servants and institutions accountable.
Right.
We need to separate the politics from practical requirements of Ghanaian civil servants and Ghanaian institutions. If the issue is power generation, which the presidency and the government is responsible for, let it be known so.
So we could talk
If
about
there are
it when we're
technical
dealing with
issues, let it be known so. But it just can't be that lights go off. Customer service, you can't even communicate to your customers as to what is happening. And then we make it a political issue. Then those who are responsible for it, they go and hide behind. So we understand that electricity is powered by machines. We get it.
There could be challenges.
There could be challenges. Come out and explain to the Ghanaian that these are the challenges. We will understand. I was in Lakeside. I just recently relocated from Lakeside. Almost for the last 2 weeks or so, almost every at 9 p.m., the lights go off. 9 p.m., it goes off. Then it won't come on till like 2 a.m. Then around 10 a.m., it goes off again. Then 4 p.m. also. No explanation. No one to call. Lakeside Community 8, anyone who lives there and is listening to me or watching us will attest to what I'm saying. It's completely unacceptable. The ECG needs to come out. Well, recently when they were doing the revenue mobilization, we all supported it. So if there are issues, come out and let us know.
Maybe a load shedding timetable, maybe.
Whatever it is, come out and let Ghanaians know. This government has done extremely well when it comes to electricity.
I see.
And Ghanaians will understand if there are issues. I mean, it's a fact. Ghanaians will understand if there are issues because for almost 7 years, we have had stable electricity. So if there are issues, come out and explain it. Ghanaians will understand it. Give out timelines. This haphazard way of turning off lights and disrupting people's plans and itineraries is not proper. Charlie, the heat, when it hits you at 2 a.m. and you have to wake up at 5 a.m. and you can't sleep, it's not appropriate.
Yeah.
And as a government spokesperson, I'm on social media monitoring, and people are angry. But who are people angry at? The government. The government. But there are technical people who are responsible. This is customer service.
These are technical people that you put there.
No, not necessarily. The government appoints the head. But the technical people, 99% are Ghanaians who are working there.
What I'm saying is the heads of these institutions mainly come from you.
No.
And then they influence, they decide on who joins the company, who does what.
No.
Based on the skill set.
No. You see, what that does is it turns the whole problem back to politics. I get it.
No, but that's the reality.
No, that's not the reality. My point is that, yes, there are government individuals who are heads of the department.
Exactly.
So when I'm saying this, I'm saying it to cover the boss of the ECG. But he also has other people under him with PR department and other departments who are equally responsible.
Who report to
it
him.
doesn't matter. I'm holding everybody accountable. Let's not make it an individual issue. Because for all you know, as the MD, he may not know that this particular area has gone off. There are individuals who are responsible for it. There are PR departments. They are supposed to collaborate. The head of ECG cannot know every single action, every single minute. That's why we have technical directors, we have engineers, we have department heads. They are also supposed to be part of it. But when we do that, we take out the technicians, we take out the civil servants and make it politics again.
No, well, really,
can't do
essentially,
that.
we're not taking them out in the equation.
Yeah.
What we're doing is we're finding a central point. If you're heading the institution, you have the utmost responsibility for what happens there.
Of course.
And your right and your responsibilities is based on the position that you occupy.
Of course.
So if there's a challenge concerning a particular institution or an agency, whatever, although there may be people directly responsible to that, those people report to you, have oversight responsibilities.
So that's
just like being the president of the country, and there are issues in governance that are not going on well. Whatever happens, we draw the line to
Let's
you.
blame the president when the traffic lights are not working. We can't do that. I'm saying that you have to be able to say that ECG, this is not right. So when I came here, I didn't say ECG.
By the way, we're not saying what happened.
I'm saying ECG.
Yesterday is coming from the ECG, though. We're yet to get an explanation to.
There's power generation.
Yes.
But the people who bring the lights to our house.
So how do you know it's not a generational problem?
And let's not misconstrue the issue, my brother.
No, what I'm trying to say is,
when it comes to power value chain,
yes,
ECG is the one responsible for the customer. So if there are even generational challenges, sometimes GridCo will come out and put
exactly. So the same thing I'm talking about.
I know.
Let us hear from the agency that should have dealt with whatever problem there was yesterday.
Ghanaians don't have an agreement with GridCo. Ghanaians have an agreement with ECG. So I am saying that let's hold those responsible accountable. Whether it's GridCo or whether it's ECG, my point is, let's communicate to Ghanaians.
I think we're talking about the same thing.
There are challenges and we are fixing it. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I see. Tonto. Ayaga, how did you cope yesterday?
First and foremost, I think it's extremely terrible for any service provider to take its customers for granted. Not only ECG, but even most of the public service companies just take their services for granted. They take we, the customers, for granted. I mean, you're trying to get service and they feel that, I mean, they're actually doing you a favor, whilst we are actually paying for it. It's a contract between the two of us. I pay for something, you give it to me. So do not behave as though you have the right at any point in time to cut that service. And because Ghanaians, we just try to be warm towards everything. We do not sue them. We don't protest against them. We don't speak against it. And as usual, he says then we decide to play political ping pong with it. But I am happy and also surprised that today he's also saying we should blame the service providers, which we should have done many, many years ago. But maybe he wasn't around in this country when NDC was in power, and every time the lights went off, it was, John Mahama has put off the light. Coming from their own Stop.
don't want to go
Oh,
there.
let
You
me
are
speak.
politicizing
Kofi
the
Tonto, when you were
process.
speaking, I wasn't speaking. I beg you. I beg of you. Today, let us have a very proper discussion here.
But don't politicize it. That's
I'm not
all saying.
politicized. When you are given the opportunity, you took a route you wanted to take that would favor you. Allow me to take the route that I think Ghanaians want to hear. So, I mean, if we had started that culture many years ago of pinpointing or pointing out service providers for some mismanagement, and where government actually is complicit, we try to name and try to tell government to fix it, then that would make sense. But every time under John Dramani Mahama, even if they were doing servicing, even if a power station had blown out, even if they were doing some maintenance, all they used to do, especially the MPP communicators, would say, oh, John Dramani Mahama has put out our lights. But today they don't want us to now say that it is the MPP that has put out the light. I am not saying the MPP has put out the light, but that is what people are also saying, just to let them understand that we should not politicize everything in this country. However, when it comes to power generation, and let me also let me try to settle this erroneous impression that has been created by the MPP, that ever since we came, we've done excellently well and there hasn't been doom. But you should know that these are things you are enjoying based on the foundations and the structures that have been put in place by the previous administration.
I see.
I mean, if a government under NDC has moved power generation from 2,168 megawatts to 5,000, what do you expect? Once you come, yours is to have a smooth takeoff. So let us not always try to politicize it, that MPP has come and there's no doom. So when in actual fact, I don't know how many megawatts they added. The last time we read it was just 3 megawatts. The one at, I think, Nandom in the Upper West, the solar megawatts, just 3 megawatts that they added as of last year. So if we have been able to add over 2,000 megawatts to the already 2,168 megawatts, then the MPP shouldn't be able to even speak about they being able to control the electricity supply. So, I mean, but by and large, the most important thing is that service providers should not
take the customers for granted.
Not only ECG, but most huge companies. I don't want to mention names, but especially the telecommunication companies. I mean, they just behave with so much impunity and disrespect to the client. That should be taken seriously.
First of all, even the megawatts he's talking about is wrong. If you want to talk about the Kalio Nandom electricity, it's not 3 megawatts. It's not 3 megawatts. It's a total of about 31 megawatts in the area. The Kalio Nandom is about 13 or so megawatts. I don't have the figures here. And then there's another area.
The first one you installed was 3 megawatts.
Okay.
After that, you installed 3 megawatts. The plan is to have this number of megawatts.
You just said
but you installed 3 megawatts.
No. Please, let me talk. We haven't installed 3 megawatts. I'm telling you that the one the president commissioned was more than 3 megawatts. And I'm telling you, the total combined is about 30 megawatts. So don't come and talk about
all the megawatts.
So you want to compare his 30 megawatts to 2,000 megawatts? No problem. Ghanaians are watching.
Hold on.
MPP says they've added 30 megawatts.
You have
misinformed Ghanaians. And
I'm telling that it's 3 megawatts. But granted, it's even 30 megawatts. Let me even dash
so it means it is not 3 megawatts.
It is not 30 megawatts.
We just want to establish the fact that it is not 3 megawatts.
You can read it. It's not 30 megawatts.
So let us know the past situation in your area from last night. It appears some parts of Accra, they were in total darkness for major parts of the night yesterday. Let us know what you make of it, what the situation was in your area on any of our social media platforms at TV3 Ghana. We'll be glad to read your comments here on the show. Let's get on to Zoom and speak with Emmanuel Osei Poku. He's also a guest this morning on New Day. We'll be talking about a rather disturbing trend that we're seeing in the past 7 days. So in the past 4 weeks, we've seen about 4 building collapses. We'll get the thoughts of Emmanuel on that. But Emmanuel, how was the power situation in your area yesterday night?
Well, in my area, good morning to you and the viewers.
Good morning.
For in my area, we had a stable power supply.
Great.
We in the central region, so I didn't even know that there have been some erratic power supplies in some areas in Accra.
To the main discussion we want to have with you, Emmanuel. So we've seen 4 building collapses in this week. The question on the minds of many is, as a civil engineer, what is going on?
Okay, so I thank you for your question. Thanks for having me. Um, I think it's quite unfortunate for us to be hearing news such as this, when Ghana, the state, has a lot of professionals so far as construction is concerned, and we still wake up in the morning and we hear some structure has collapsed. Now, as a professional in that industry, what comes to mind, ideally, first is a case of an accident. And when it's a case of an accident, everybody knows it's unintentional, unexpected, but then it will surely, cause damage. But people also are employed or paid to have an oversight responsibility in the industry to make sure such things do not occur. So some too, I would say it's also due to irregularities. There are a lot of irregularities, say more practices in the construction industry that also amounts to these occurrences. There is a major of them, the height of them is the non-engagement of the professionals. You see, the Ghanaians, we are having an attitude where we tend not to engage the trained professionals. As I said earlier on, we have mainstream universities, about 6 of them. We have technical universities. We have accredited institutions, professional bodies, and membership. And so we cannot say that there are inadequate professionals in that area. We also have a vibrant, standard board that makes sure that the correct materials and up to standard material for construction also come into the country and being used. So when it comes to that area, I think we are sorted out. But the question now remains, why do we still have all these and still these are happening? One of the things I would say is that we also are not engaging the professionals. I would chip in something that you can put it upon yourself and try to survey your area, your residence, where you live, your community, and identify majority of the houses and ask which of these houses was actually properly constructed by engaging the right professionals, as be the architect, the engineers, the surveyors, and all. You find out that majority of these houses were built just on people's own discretion, and that is what makes it very dangerous. The other part of the not engaging these construction professionals is that everybody has a scope. And so if you tend to skip some, if you tend to decide not to engage, some of these members, it's at your own disadvantage. We also have, I would say, dormant laws at the municipal assembly. That is on the part of the state and both citizenry. You see, when you want to build in Ghana, you have to engage the municipal or district assembly, which you find yourself. So you have a plot of land you want to build, you need to engage the district engineer in your locality. And then you send your drawings to him for him to scrutinize, peruse every document before he give you a permit for you to go and build. And so there's no way a structure is supposed to be put up without the knowledge of that, district engineering office. But unfortunately, you can ask yourself how many Ghanaians are building, and they will contact the district engineers. Some do the right thing by, contacting them. That is even after they've raised the structure to a certain point and the engineer has halted the activity for them to produce permit.
Okay.
Now, all these things will gradually, amount these problems that we are going to see later on. You are living in a structure, you are renting, you don't know that who built your structure for you.
Okay.
You get so that is in majority.
These are some of the factors. Emmanuel, so we're seeing a lot of factors, a conglomerate of factors that may come together to see that these buildings are collapsing. But if you look at a trend, since the building collapses started this year, you see that shortly on your screen, the incidences that happen. We're seeing that all of those story buildings. The first one that happened around the Adenta municipality, there was questions on how long it took the contractor or the engineer to put up that story building. There's a question on the minds of many. What is the duration, if you like? How long should it take you per standard requirements for engineers to put up story buildings? Maybe you could do a 2-story building, a 3-story building in a week, in 2 months, in 3 months. What's the nature like?
Well, I think the major component of building material used in construction nowadays is concrete. So I would say in practice, concrete takes 21 days to cure. So then by 21 days, the full strength of concrete, will be reached, and then you can proceed to do whatever you want to do with it. So then if you want to ask questions about how long should you take to put up a structure and all, these are some of the factors you put into consideration. But still, just as you said, you highlighted, it's what? It's a story building.
Yes.
Now, the first 2 points I said comes in play again. You know that in Ghana, when you by the bylaws at the district assembly, if anybody is putting up a structure which is more than 2-story, that is 3-story or more, you need to have what we call a geotechnical report. And so you go to the district assembly again, and then you find out that they are heckling with these clients because most structures are put up without this report. They don't conduct these, exercises. So it still boils down to the more practice on part of both as the citizenry and then also relaxing on responsibilities on the part of the state. That's what happened.
So for those who may go into already existing properties to buy or to rent, what, particularly story buildings, for some education, what should they look out for so that they don't become victims of such incidents?
Well, when the structure is already put up, you would have to do a lot of work to make sure that it's dependent on what you want to use it for. For example, there are offices and institutions that can actually perform a structural integrity test on a structure for you. If you want to buy it, there are professionals that you can contact, and they will do a structural integrity test on the property for you to ascertain if it's really up to standard or up to what you want to use it for. So our thing now, that is what you need to do. You need to engage a professional, and then when you engage a professional, they go and inspect the structure for you, and then they will now ascertain whether it is durable, whether it's constructed properly, whether it is even about collapsing, whether there are defects. All of them now the professional will tell you, and then they give you an advice on that.
For builders, how important is the issue of pillars of using quality concrete materials and all of that to the structures that they put up?
It is very important. It is part of the structure component of every building, So no engineer or no architect who is going to actually design a building or put up a building without really giving proper recognition and attention to these areas. We call them the building members, And also materials also forms a major part of a building. So there's a lot of material engineering that goes into it. That is why I say, when you want to build, you contact a professional, because the architect will design your structure for you, will choose to the detailed specifications what material that has to be used, what type of steel, what type of, I would say iron rods, the depth, everything the professionals will do it for you. They will design it according even to the terrain, the ground you are going to build. If your land is clay, everything is going to be sorted out by the professional, so that you don't go in, excuse my language, like a blind man. And then now you go and do something, and then you have repercussions later on.
Emmanuel, I'd like to thank you so much for your time with us and for those education you've given us and viewers watching us from all over the world. Emmanuel Osei Poku is a civil engineer, and we just spoke about the recurring building collapse in the country. So on May 2, we saw a three-story building collapsed at the Adenta municipality, and days after, just 2 days after, on May 5, another three-story building also collapsed at the Adenta municipality. Then on May the 7th, a six-story building also in Tamale that also came tumbling down. And yesterday, just yesterday, another three-story building that belonged to a church also came down in the Botiano area. So those are the details you see. What happened on May 5 was at Maijon and Akrom, also in the Adenta municipality. A three-story building collapsed on May 2nd, also in the Adentan municipality. We'll see what happened on May 7 shortly, and that was a six-story building that also came down, and that happened in Tamale. You're seeing that right now on your screen. So on May 7, 2023, a six-story building at UDS City campus in Tamale that also collapsed. And yesterday, May 9, 2023, a three-story church building collapses at Botiano, also here in Accra. We understand from yesterday's incident, there is an individual who is at the moment critically injured. The others have received treatment and have been discharged. Ayaga, during the conversation, we're giggling all around.
It's terrible. I mean, I don't even know where to start from so far as this conversation is concerned. But I mean, even before I go into that with the issue of the MEP, I think the Nandom is 13, but Navrongo is around 2.5 to 3. So let me correct that.
You want to go back to that?
Yes. No, I want to correct that before. Nandom is 13. So and Navrongo is 2.5 to 3 megawatts. So let me just correct that.
When you put all together, it is more than 3.
Yes.
Just like I was trying to say.
No problem.
Well, it's good he's admitted it.
Let's move on.
So now, the issue of the built environment. I've been with this industry for quite some time now. Mm-hmm. So I can run you through the issues concerned in this environment. I actually studied architecture in school,
right.
So I know what I'm talking about. Now, the problem starts from the materials that are imported into this country right down to the end of the construction. You won't believe that today, when you go onto the market looking for steel, iron rods, 12 mm, they sell it to you for 12 mm, but when you go to the site and you measure it, you actually get 10 mm.
What happened to the 2?
I mean, people are reducing the size to make more profit, and it's happening live. I'm not kidding about it. I mean, this is a very serious issue that I would want to speak passionately about. Void of politics, whether this gap. No. And this has to do with standards authority.
Right.
You see, the manufacturers are trying very hard to shortchange the customers. So you'd go aside from the imported steel, which they call the high tensile, which actually gives you the right size. When you talk about the normal iron rod that we buy, you go to buy the 10 mm, you measure it, and it's about 8 mm. You go to buy the 12 mm, you measure it, it gives about 10. You buy the 16, it runs through. So this is one of the main issues that Standards Authority actually needs to take serious and critical look at. When you measure it, you realize, and the funny is that sometimes you measure the iron, you measure the tip, it gives you 12. You measure the middle, it gives you 10. They measure the other end. So you realize
it's shrinking.
It's a funny situation happening out there. But because there's no one to speak about it, people are going about, doing their own things and just cutting corners and making more money. The other thing is the engagement of professionals, which he spoke about. So, I mean, with the materials, not just iron rods, we should look at all the other materials. I mean, it's very difficult for us to be able to look at a bag of cement and be able to measure its strength. If it's not used and you go through the concrete test, it's very difficult for you to measure whether you have the right proportions of clinker, etc. in it. So all of these materials need to be looked at critically. The next thing is the engagement of professionals. We are cutting too many corners in this country. People find it very difficult to pay for professionals. So everyone is looking for a cousin or a relative who has put up a building before to put up my building, and sometimes they don't even have the right qualification. You will find someone who is just able to put one block on another and he says he's a contractor. You find another person who is just able to dig the trenches and he says he's a contractor. You find a mason who has built 2 or 3 houses. The next thing is that he wants to build 8 stories. But it doesn't work that way. And the funny thing is that they feel that, okay, once I dug the foundation of maybe 1 meter for 1-story building, once I'm going 2-story, let me add another half of a meter. And it's very funny, the things that are happening out there. The next thing has to do with the assembly.
Right.
The assemblies are understaffed so far as technical men are concerned. You take your drawings out there for approval. Instead of they actually examining the drawings, auditing the drawings, sometimes they just look at, okay, has it been stamped by an architect? Okay, has it been stamped by a civil engineer? Then they give you the approval. The next thing is that people can go to the assembly with maybe, I'm building a 1-story building. You get to the site and the whole design has changed about a 4-story building. But the assembly, because they are understaffed, they are unable to track what you brought and what you are building.
Okay.
Because if you brought a plan for 1 story and now you are building a 4-story, you should have brought the corresponding drawings or the changes in the design back to the assembly for them to vet and approve.
Yeah.
Before you continue. And we see it happening everywhere. People take the design of 1 story, then they start building and say, oh, the value of land here is high and the rent is high, so let's go extra 2 floors. And the mason will tell you, oh, the concrete we put at the foundation is very strong, so it can hold the building or it can carry the building. Then...
Just like that.
Yes, I mean, things are happening. I'm serious. Things are happening out there, and it's terrible.
And that's
it is very, very, very terrible.
Right.
Things happening out there. It's very terrible. So
those are part of the reasons why we're seeing these buildings come down
all the time.
Sudden.
Yes,
I think it's something we should pay attention to.
Now,
a lot of people have various responsibilities in this regard, from the assembly to the contractors to the engineers to the ordinary mason
to
or
the owner.
Exactly.
the client. Yeah, I'm coming to the clients. I'm coming to the
They have
clients.
the utmost responsibility.
I'm coming to the clients. So you would realize that there are too many unauthorized and unapproved contractors. We should be able to regulate that space.
Yeah.
Whether you are putting up a private project or a public project. With the issue of the public project, because they go through government tender, they are able to scrutinize and know that, okay, you've put up this building before, your track record, your qualification, or your profile. So at least with the government projects, they are able to choose proper contractors, due diligence to be able to select the contractor. But when it comes to the private sector, it's just about who knows whose cousin has put up a building before. The other thing has to do with the on-site supervision.
Okay.
Most of the clients, once they come to you, the architect, they come with their brief, design for them. They tell you, oh, I don't require your services anymore. I know someone who can build it for me. But in as much as someone is putting up the building for you, you need that consultant to supervise it and make sure they are doing the right thing. Otherwise, you have buildings collapsing all the time. My extreme disappointment is the one that happened on the university campus.
Yeah.
That's
a 6-story
quite
building.
troubling.
Yes.
I agree with you on that.
It's scary, very, very scary, because this is an institution. It's a public institution.
Yeah.
They have a works department.
Yeah.
They have architects. They have civil engineers. They have electrical engineers. They have all the engineers who supervise the building.
Plus, they have teachers who may be teaching these to students.
Exactly. I think for UDS, they don't do this engineering. It's KNUST and UMAT and Legon. So you have all these departments that supervise the building from foundation to the 6th floor. And there's a heavy downpour and the building collapses. Part of the building collapses. I tried to cross-check the reason, and it told me they are still doing some investigations and research to know what actually caused the building to collapse. But these buildings are supposed to carry both dead and live load. Dead load has to do with the table, the furniture, and the building itself. And the live load has to do with we, the human beings that move into the building.
Right.
And if the building is unable to even carry its own load, then it's troubling. So let's just imagine in the most unlikely event that they had completed the building and students were in there.
Just like was the case of the church.
I mean, no one.
So the church yesterday there were only 7 people in there. But if it had happened in the night, there was service going to happen in the night when the incident happened. So if it had happened at that time, then we'll be talking some huge numbers, huge tragedy in the country. Anyways, Ariga, thank you for that.
So, I mean, wrapping, I think the assembly, municipal assembly, all the requisite engineering agencies who are supposed to supervise this thing, they should be up and doing. We cannot have just 3-4-story buildings collapsed all the time, whereas other countries are going 200 floors, 250 floors, and we are still struggling with 4, 5
3 and 4
story, and they are collapsing.
Well,
yes,
that's some sad news. But Akoto, there's some good news for you and your government. So, Kofi, the Ghana Cedi is projected to end 2023 at 12 cedis 40 pesos to $1. Yeah. That is coming from Fitch Solutions. So it has predicted that it will end 2023 at a rate of 12.40 to $1, which is a significant improvement from the 38% depreciation recorded last year. Before we go into that, and I'm sure you like to take a lot of applause for that. Before we go into that, you want to talk about the building collapse? Yes.
Oh, no, I think Ayarga has said a lot. I'm also in the space and learning more. But I think he's spoken to everything that needs to be said. But the only thing I'll probably add is that it comes back to the clients, the people who own the building, making sure you engage the right people. Even if you have to engage a cousin or a friend who is a professional.
It should be qualified.
It should be qualified. Aside from being qualified, it's always good to have another professional come in and check. So we've hired a professional. The professional is doing his or her job. At every stage, you need to get another professional, if you can, as much as possible, to come and validate the work the person is doing. You know, because as an individual, because the church building, for example, will be done by the church, but it will be led by the pastor and other things. Yeah. So there's still that individualism involved. And that is why the UDS one is a bit scandalous, because it's an institution. So it won't be just one person taking a decision. So that one is a separate issue we have to look at. I think it will go beyond the technical aspect. There may be corruption somewhere. You know, I think it will definitely go beyond the technical issue. So we have to look at it separately. But on the individuals who are constructing, like the major and the Adentan one, I believe will be individual buildings. These are the people who have to make sure they are engaging, the gentleman said, structural integrity professionals. So you have a foreman who's building. At the stage, get a structural integrity person to come in and check to make sure everything
progress of work so far? Where do we go?
Yeah, where do we go? If there are any challenges, you immediately fix them. So it's very important.
I mean, if you do a cost-benefit analysis, it will be better for you to correct the mistakes early on than to wait till you put up the story building for all of it to come.
And the other challenge is there's a lot of thievery in the construction business as well. You give someone, tells you, I need 50 bags of cement. You've trusted the person, you've given 50 bags of cement, and they end up using 40 or 30. You know, so as a society, our social fabric, it goes back to the initial conversation we were having. That yes, there are people whose job it is to supervise these things. But as a society, it seems we are losing a lot of things. You know, the fast way of making money has become the order of the day. So you can't even trust people. So aside from the technical aspect, who have we become as a society? And where are we going as a people? To the extent that you can't even trust a professional who has given you measurements that I need this. Do you know some of the electricians, do you know what they do? They will give you the cables they need. As they are wiring, they wrap some on their body and put their clothes on it. They wrap some of the cables around their body and put their clothes on it. So you come back, oh, you said you needed 40 yards or 40 feet or whatever. Oh, sir, there was this issue, so I need 10 more. they will give you all manner of flimsy excuses to get 10 more. So it's a whole chain, starting from our integrity as a people, and then going to the technical aspect, the supervision aspect. So unless we really look at these things, I think we are going to continue to have these challenges. So I won't say much on that. I think Ayarga has dealt with the technical aspect. So I'll leave it there. Yeah.
We're talking about money. That's the
Cedi.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm not particularly excited about 12.40. I don't think 12.4 is where this government
based on where we're coming from.
No. I think we intend to do better. I mean,
that's good to know, actually.
Of course. I mean, 12.4 is not what we want. And that's not what a government should want. This government doesn't want 12.4. So we respect the projections by Fitch, but we are going to do everything humanly possible to bring it to maybe 8 or 9. That would be reasonable. But 12.4 is absolutely not what we intend to work for. So I'm not particularly excited about the projections. I feel very strongly that once we get the balance of payment support, let me say this. The IMF we are going to is not a one-stop shop for everything. The IMF we are going to is to solve a particular problem, balance of payment, to support us in that space. We believe that once we get that balance of payment support, it will give us the necessary stabilization we need for us to do other programs to help grow the economy. When I came in, Johnny was talking about taxes. Some of these taxes are deterrent taxes. Some of these taxes are taxes that are supposed to be taken. If someone is earning money, the person needs to pay tax. If you are playing lottery or winnings, you need to pay taxes on it because they are investments. These are things that are necessary for any economy to grow. When it comes to the excise tax, these are deterrent taxes for health implications. Have you seen the items that are being taxed under the excise tax? Cigarettes, e-cigarettes, very strong alcoholic beverages. There was a section called mineral water, but people misconstrued mineral water. They are not talking about water. They are talking about soft drinks. The terminology says mineral water, but it's soft drinks with high sugar content. That is the reason why we do the excise tax. These are taxes that are already there. Government was just aligning it to the ECOWAS standard. Excise tax has been with us since PNDC. Income tax has been with us since PNDC. There were amendments. Even the stabilization, the other one, I forgot the name, because there were 3 taxes that were introduced. Sustainability tax. That's also an existing tax. We just changed the name and repealed an old tax and replaced it with a sustainability tax.
Just a substitution.
Yeah, just a substitution. So we can speak to individual items maybe, but the income tax was looking at income brackets. Okay, person A makes 20,000 cedis. How much tax do you have to pay? The government added that those who make 50,000 cedis a month should pay a little extra more. And then the government also included some investment. The government views lottery winnings as an investment, and you are paying tax on it. So let's not create the impression, because what I heard from Johnny was that you are taxing out of production. No, it's not the same. These taxes have nothing to do with trying to destroy production, as the impression Johnny was creating. They are not the same. These are legitimate taxes that Ghanaians have to pay.
Right. So,
and the other one was deterrent tax, as I was referring to. But coming back to the point that I was saying, we have to, once we get the support necessary, we have to do even better to ensure that we come down to as low as 8 or 9. That, for me, will be what will be good for the people of Ghana.
I would want to ask you, Ayarga, do you think it is possible? He wants an 8 or a 9 cedi to $1 US. Now we're currently, hovering around 12, 10, 15, 20, 30, and 40 there. You think it is possible to get to an 8, 9 cedis?
You see, the main issue has to do with the structure of the economy. And I mean, every Ghanaian who was in Ghana from 2016 believed in the very beautiful promises that came from the MPP and how they had all the wonderful ideas to actually arrest the dollar. One district, one factory, the money is there, especially Mahmoud Bawumia. He made so much noise.
You mean the vice president?
Yes, the vice president, yes, Alhaji Bawumia. And the many lectures about how the economy was mismanaged and how he had all the ideas and he wielded the magic wand, how he was coming to actually manage this economy to the best of his abilities. Then, fast forward, he comes out to tell us how much they have put together a solid economic management team. He named very wonderful personalities out there. Then the next thing, he tells us that he has arrested the dollar and locked it and given the key
to the IGP.
To the IGP. And we in the NDC, we thought that, come on, we are done with campaign. So some of these things that puts you in some jocular mood should be stopped. And we are actually in there, so it's time for you to act and stop the talk. But every time he was given the opportunity, he was more interested in how he would compare and contrast and give some jabs at the former president. Now, today, the dollar is at 12 Ghana cedis.
Yeah.
And you understand that from 2017 to 2021, every year there was an injection of close to $3 billion in the economy, coming from Eurobonds and other financial institutions, both internal and external. So, of course, that helped to stabilize the dollar for some time. But once all these rating institutions started downgrading us, it became very difficult for us
to have access to those.
And that is when we now started getting exposed to the real state of our economy. So we moved from about 6.4 to about 15 cities within the space of 5 months. That was last year. So it showed you how our structural integrity of the economy was very weak. Then we managed to bring it to 12 Ghana cedis. And I must respect his honesty, saying that he believes that we shouldn't be at 12. But you hear some of their communicators vehemently defending the 12 because they have moved from 15 to 12. You don't take me through excruciating hardship and just reduce my hardship by some percentage and say I should be excited. Expect me to clap for you. And I keep saying that for some of us, we will not in any way applaud mediocrity. So we think that the vice president and his economic management team, of which he is a head of, should have been up and doing. Should be up. The vice president and his economic management team.
You just can't talk. Anywhere I go with you,
and
you always have to come back to. Why are you like that?
Why would you let me?
What's your behavior? I want to understand.
His point.
Why would
my brother?
Why would Kofi let me make my point?
I go ahead. Kofi will listen to you quietly.
I mean, I was having a smooth take-off. Now I have to land and take off again.
I think it was a good tactic to throw him off a little bit.
Yes. But he's my brother, so I'm used to that. So, I mean, the vice president should be up and doing. I expected the vice president by now should have been vehemently trying as much as possible to stabilize the city and let the city gain some value.
But that's what they're trying to do at the moment.
Yes, but you see, of all the promises that they put in place, the structures that they put, and the plans they put in place, we realize that all of it has backfired. In fact, instead of he putting together himself and his people to be able to manage this economy, I mean, the vice president should know that at this crucial moment, it's not about roaming from church to church just to project his campaign that is needed by Ghanaians. For the vice president, if he wants to be taken serious, even in the MPP and Ghanaians, he should be able to bring this economy back to its days of glory. But for us to be hovering around 12 Ghana cedis, and for the vice president to think that he can still be frolicking about, trying to go church throttling, praying, and that would not save us. Now, don't forget that during our time, and you see, for the stabilization of the city, as I said, we need to look at the entire structure of our economy. If we do not move from taxation to manufacturing, we will not be able to stabilize this economy. And manufacturing to be able to export, we will not be able to stabilize this economy. And that's why I still come back to the vice president, who made so much noise that we're moving from taxation to manufacturing. Today, we are being burdened with so many taxes, so many taxes. He was talking about some of the taxes. Kofi, you know, there's about 20% on fruit juice.
No. It's about, what do you mean about 20%?
They're the same taxes on the beverages. You know, you spoke about some of the deterrent taxes, the cigarette.
The excise tax.
Fruit juice shouldn't be a deterrent. It should be.
Ayaga, hold on for me. Kofi, the progress that we're making concerning the city, we'll touch on this briefly. It is based on the IMF bailout program. As it stands, for certainty, when is the money coming? So that we have some levels of...
I wouldn't be able to tell you exactly when the money is coming. What we do know, and as a journalist, I'm sure you know, is that we've made a great deal of progress. As we are already hearing, our document is now even in front of the executives, the IMF executive board, and they are having preliminary discussions already. So as far as getting it, we know we are going to get it. The timing is still an issue we are dealing with. But I'm very certain that within a month or two, we should be at the end of the whole exercise, and we should see the first tranche coming in. So I'm very certain about that. But I wouldn't be able to tell you exactly what date it is coming. But I'm certain in my mind that very shortly, we should be able to see that. Yeah.
So, for you,
and you see, I mean, when you read the report even by Fitch, they mention the fact that, I mean, all of these projections is based on the premise that we would actually be able to secure the IMF deal.
Certainly.
Yes.
Yeah.
So clearly, it has nothing to even do with the competence and the management of the economy by Bawumia and his people. So it clearly just has to do with it clearly has to do with we now actually hoping and praying that IMF deal will be approved and the money would come, and based on those projections, we can end that talk. So for me, I mean, most importantly, what I expect the vice president should be doing now is to go back and let us have serious lectures on how he's coming back to save the economy, and not how he's going to do that.
We are going to fix the economy. You say here,
Kofi, you have been fixing the economy since 2017. And the economy is in the worst of states. I mean, at a point, you read wide, at a point, we were the worst economy so far as the depreciation of the currency was concerned. We were just second to Sri Lanka. I mean, how can we now be comparing ourselves to Sri Lanka? I mean, we're last but one. Someone will say last but second, but we're last but one. The whole world. Our currency at the time was the worst performing currency. We're just ahead of Sri Lanka. I mean, and for us to even think that we are just better than Sri Lanka, the whole world, with a vice president like Alhaji Bawumia, who made so much noise. So please, and funny enough, you stop talking about the economy. I'm surprised. In a very long time, I haven't heard him speak about the economy.
It's been a while.
Now he's only talking about he's talking about religion. How his own voters in MPP shouldn't vote based on religious lines. So I mean, let's. I think for me the most important thing why I think the entire bag stops with the vice president is because of the kind of rhetorics, the kind of speeches, the kind of lectures he held. I mean, we all know the strength of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. He's a lawyer. He's not an economist, so he can be pardoned. For me, I think he can be pardoned to some extent. I mean, but he is doing what he loves doing. I mean, once he's given the podium, he speaks fluently. That is what he's doing. Bawumia, who made so much noise that he was coming to manage the economy, should have been managing the economy by now. Bawumia has failed in managing this economy. He has brought this economy to its knees. And that is what he should be concentrated in doing. So he should think of saving the economy and stop roaming from church to church. Praying from church to church is not what is going to solve our economic problems. Not at all. He should think of the economy and not his bid to become president, not the next presidential primaries in the MPP. Trust me, if he's able to fix the economy, he will even need to campaign. That is our problem.
He's trying to fix the economy.
But he knows. Are you for Alan or for Bawumia?
Let's hear from Kofi.
My brother, you see, Pentecostal Church of Ghana invited the vice president Are you sitting here saying if the Pentecostal Church of Ghana invites the vice president, he shouldn't attend?
Is that what you're saying?
Not at all.
Okay.
But what are you saying? What are you saying? What are you saying?
Listen to me.
What are you saying?
Listen to me.
Let's make it.
But you ask me a question or a rhetorical question.
We've had an answer to that.
Okay, feel free. Do you think the vice president just wakes up and goes to a church, or he's invited? I was with him in Obuasi. It was the Obuasi diocese that invited him. He doesn't just wake up and go to churches. He's invited for his unity, the fact his inclusiveness. That's why he's invited. They have a problem with the vice president going to church. Do you remember when the whole Kusi Boateng issue came? Go and read what Kwachi Ofosu said. He said the vice president is foisting himself on the church. And Kusi Boateng is the conduit who's allowing the vice president to foist himself on the church. They are uncomfortable. They just don't like the fact that the man is building a relationship with the church. It's all about politics for him. See, when he sat here, it's all about politics. But let me tell you, you can do whatever it is you want to do. You will not stop the shine of the vice president. So this whole thing about church, I don't get it. The vice president is not a Christian. Is he a Christian? Has he formed a church?
That's it.
No, has he formed a church?
He has not.
Does he just wake up and go to somebody's church, or he's invited? Are you telling me if the vice president is invited to a church, he shouldn't go?
The point he's making is that the vice president should pay more attention.
Are you saying the vice president
reviving the economy?
No, but the vice president,
his campaign exercises he intends to back on
my brother,
because of his quest to become president of the nation.
No, let's separate the argument. The vice president doesn't just wake up and sleep. He's working as a vice president. He's part of the EMT. He's part of the decision making. So these things are ongoing. Do you not know that the government has put out a plan as far as how to revive the economy? Are you not the one just telling me about going to the IMF? Are these not part of the strategies being implemented? Have you not seen the vice president implementing other initiatives to support the economy, like the gold for oil? So what are we talking about? Are we saying that the only thing the vice president does is to go to church? Let's not create this fixated, ill-intended impression as if the vice president doesn't do anything. He is working. There are challenges. We are going to fix it. So let nobody create that false impression as if that's the only thing he does. He's out there. Just last week, he told you about the work he's doing with the taxi drivers. Didn't you hear that?
Yes, he spoke about it.
The work he's doing with the taxi drivers. He spoke to you about the work he's doing to build. He spoke about the structural aspect of the economy. What is more important than building the foundation that will give us the solid structure? He told you about the fact that very soon young babies at birth will have their Ghana card number. He's spoken about all the important things that will help us build the foundation that we need to move this economy forward. Are these things not important? He did e-pharmacy. Are we saying that building our health is not important? He's doing all these things in addition to supporting, reviving the economy. And if he's doing this and in the process somebody invites him to church, you come and sit here and create the impression that he's going to church. Master, I'm sorry, no, you continue to go to the church. You continue to build a relationship with the church people. He's an inclusive leader. He's a unifying leader.
We'll have to take a break. Just in 20 seconds, we'll have to take a break.
Let me quickly react to that. If the vice president were working as he's supposed to work and manage this economy as head of economic management team, this economy would not be where it is.
So
it is as a result of him not working.
So now we are where we are.
Management of the economy. Upon all the promises and all the lies coming from the vice president, I expect him to work.
Now,
but if you are not working, I see you all the time jumping from one place to another, you're not managing the economy. If you're managing the economy, it will show you you're working.
Listen to me.
You should show working.
We have gotten to where we are now. What we have to talk about now is the way forward. And that is, these are steps that the EMT is taking to get us out of the mess we find ourselves in.
The EMT has gotten us into this mess.
Yes,
someone must take responsibility.
We're looking at the way. We're looking at the way forward.
In the entire MPP, no one has taken responsibility. It is never true. They started by They started by blaming John Dramani Mahama in the first 2, 3, 4 years. They started blaming John Dramani Mahama in the first 2, 3 years of their administration. Post that, they jumped to COVID. After they jumped onto Russia, Ukraine. No one in the MPP from Ado Danko Akufo-Addo to Mahmoud Bawumia.
You mean the president and the vice president? Anyways,
no one has taken responsibility for this economic mess. So if you are only interested in your bid, if you are interested in your bid, because when you were speaking, I wasn't speaking. If you want us to continue interjecting,
I think you've exhausted your time on this subject.
We can easily do that.
Kofi, let me hear you for 20 seconds.
We can easily do that.
20 seconds. Okay. The vice president, President John Mahama, is going around campaigning. And his solution to the economy is that he's going to take Ghana's money. He said it. It's not me saying. And give it to the NDC to do piggery. That's what John Mahama said. He said it.
Who didn't take that?
And give it to them to do piggery.
This is the most ridiculous.
The former president, John Dramani Mahama, did not say he's taking Ghana's money to give to NDC executives.
What did he say?
Let's establish that. That was not what the former president said. In his quest to give some form of employment to executives of the NDC, he did not say.
What did he say? Tell me what he said. Tell me what he said.
Ghana
I said, tell me what he said.
What is wrong if a flag bearer hopeful of a party in both the NPP and the NDC, as they campaign for their delegates, with their delegates to be elected, talks about efforts to get them employed?
Said no. Let's situate.
That's what I'm asking.
He's engaging me. He's engaging me.
Because the NPP
hold on for me.
will not listen. They will not take advice.
Hold on for me.
That is why we are in this economic
Hold on for me. So that was the former president. The former president did not say that.
Let me talk.
We advised you many months We advised you many months ago that you will end up at the IMF. They made so much noise we're not going to IMF. A week after the former president's lecture, the next thing that they are going to the IMF.
Give me a minute.
My brother, the former president said that when we come to power, we are going to resource you and give you funding to do piggery. The former president said, when we come, our women are also going to get food feeding program. Where is he going to get the money from when he comes to power?
Political parties, the MPP does not have a self-financing structure.
No.
I'm asking a question.
No, it's not self-financing.
I'm asking a question.
If the NDC has self-financing...
Does the MPP have a self-financing module?
No, MPP has its self-financing module, of course. But how has that got to do with the argument?
Will it be fair if I ask you what you use the money for?
What we use that to manage our party.
That's different from what the former president is trying to say.
No. But the former president was not talking about NDC financing. He was talking about coming to power and resourcing delegates. That's what he was talking about.
He was talking. He wants to be the flag bearer of the party first before he can become the president of the nation. That is
but the argument he made was that when we come to power, this is what we are going to do to resource you. And he went to the extent and said that when we come, our women are also going to take over the school feeding program. And he cited that when we come to power, we are going to give you funding to do piggery. Where is he going to get the money when he comes to power? So how is that different from what I said? That's exactly what Mahama said. That when he comes to power,
you take Ghana's money.
But where is he going to get the money?
Give it to the
I'm asking, where is he going to get the money?
Kofi, thank you.
Whose money is he going to get?
You're watching the big. No. We have to go on a break at the moment. We have to go on a break at the moment.
At least.
Ayaga, hold on. It's time for the break.
Okay.
So you're watching New Day. This is still the big issues. My name is Noble Crosby, and we'll delve into some matters concerning the NDC and an injunction that a flag bearer hopeful of the party is seeking to put on the upcoming primaries on Saturday, May the 13th. After this, stay with us.